and seafood in Baton Rouge. Today on Sports Shorts Daily, we're going to talk about the weekend, just a little recap from this past weekend. LSU, in our opinion, showed improvement in its win over Central Michigan. The Saints took a giant step back, and the SEC officials may have had the worst weekend of all. And oh, by the way, Ron Rantz not betting went 3-1 this past weekend. I hit on the Alabama first half line. I hit on LSU minus 19. I hit on Carolina plus 3.5. I did lose in glorious fashion on Rice plus 28 against Texas. They got beat 52-0 or something like that. But hey, they all count the same. So 3-1 for me. Not a great weekend for TK, although his streak, I don't know what you did yesterday, Tommy, but on Saturday you hit a winner in baseball. You went 11-0 in your last 11 baseball games. Did you pick a game on Sunday night?
I did not. I liked the Cardinals again Sunday, which I hit Saturday night, but I didn't pick it. But Sunday on meatandpotatoesusa.com, I hit the Cleveland Browns plus 12.5.
So 11-0 on your last 11 Major League Baseball games. That's strong. By the way, a buddy of ours, Casey, took your advice on Saturday. He heard us on Sports Shorts Radio and hit a big one. Took a bottom of the ninth, right, for you to win on Saturday, I believe it was.
Bottom of the eighth. They scored 3 after being down 2-0. And then I really liked them the next day, and they won again. That's 8 straight for the Cardinals. And I'm going to have some baseball picks at meatandpotatoesusa.com later this week. But, of course, when you hit 11 in a row, sooner or later you're not going to hit, but we're going to keep riding it,
Well, TK, let's talk a little bit about this past weekend. LSU, Central Michigan, they take care of business, get out to the big fast start, which everybody wanted to see. Dominant performance in the first half. Third quarter, Central Michigan got back in the game, and then LSU put it away at the end. What kind of grade would you give LSU over the weekend?
I give them like a B, because there was some improvement. They did some things good. You got to tip your hat to the young wide receivers that stepped up. And not Ronnie, that goes back to what we always say. When you're a substitute, when you're on that bench, any sport, you better be ready when they call your name, physically and mentally. These guys did that job. And Corey Kiner, so really ran the ball well. I think he gained a lot of confidence. Offensive line did better. Defense, couple of blown assignments, leaving guys wide open. Intensity was a little higher. We talked about that last week. It looked like there was a little more like, hey, we got to get better. Let's play. Let's play hard every play. So I give them a B because there was improvement. Central Michigan better than McNeese, obviously. They had a handful of good players on the Chippewa team, but LSU did what they were supposed to do. It was not close in the fourth quarter.
The the third game, it's kind of what I expected, Tommy. It's why that's why I did the minus 19 and took and had LSU as one of my picks this weekend, because we saw the same thing from UL, the Raging Cajuns, on Thursday. Those first 2 weeks for this LSU team were rough. And oh, by the way, how about UCLA losing to Fresno State 40-37?
Paid them $1.1 million and lost to them.
Their announced paid attendance was 18,000 less than 18 or 28, 20,000, about 18,000, I believe, less than the attendance that LSU had. And that was paid attendance. I'm sure the stadium wasn't full like it was for the LSU game. But that said, that ruins LSU had a bad weekend, even though they won on the field and they looked better and they made improvement. And they hung 49 on the board against Central Michigan, and the offense got going a little bit, and you can see some glimmer of hope in this team. But on the other side, when you step back, Tommy, UCLA, after getting a week off, they played Hawaii and LSU. They go 2-0. They look fantastic. They take a week off. They come back home against Fresno State. They get pummeled against Fresno State, who, by the way, Fresno State played Oregon tough in week 1. So Fresno State may not be as bad as we think. But still, they beat UCLA. So that ruins the old UCLA's really good type of bullshit. They're terrible. That's a bad loss. Then, okay, we're starting to put things together, Tommy. We're going to take on Mississippi State next week. We're going to get a big win on the road against the Bulldogs, and then they lose to Memphis. So, wah, wah, wah on that one. And then, but when we come home, man, we're going to take on an Auburn team that's red hot right now. No, Auburn loses, and they don't cover the +8 or +6. They lose by 8 to Penn State and Happy Valley. So, and then, oh, by the way, the SEC, Alabama, after covering the first half line with both you and I were winners on against Florida, they lay an egg in the second half and have to hold on for dear life to win that game against Florida. So now Alabama looks somewhat, beatable, and the league overall goes as Alabama goes. And then when you lose out of conference to Memphis and you lose out of conference to Auburn and your UCLA loss doesn't look as good because they lose to Fresno State, and then Alabama squeaks by Florida, all of a sudden, and the SEC officials suck over the weekend. It's a bad weekend for the SEC.
A really bad weekend. A lot of layers, as you just pointed out. I mean, wow. It's we said last week after the opening week or so, we're in store for maybe even the craziest college season ever. We talked about 13 top 25 teams losing through the first 2 weeks, and it's it's gonna be tough to bet it because it's hard to figure. I mean, you start thinking you got an idea and you don't, but man, it was just like every time you looked up and a little score flashed on the bottom of the screen, you go, "Whoa, check that out."
So regarding LSU, Nookie with some takes. He thought the defense played with edge and attitude. Receivers fought for the ball. Both had been missing. I'll say that, it may be something about after that first game, and then you get back to the confines of Tiger Stadium, but definitely the defense against inferior opponents in the first half made it look different. Here's Rachel, who says, y'all expected too much too fast. These teams are getting their feet underneath them. Well, I hear you, Rachel, but at the same time, the teams they're playing are in the same boat. Everybody's playing their first, second games and getting their feet underneath them. And SEC should not be losing to Memphis. LSU should not be losing to UCLA. If so, those teams better go 11-1 or 12-0 or something. Craig Schilling, are we getting a breakfast sandwich review since Ron is in the car? Craig, you are so smart because here's the deal. I am literally, as soon as we're done doing, I'm on the road for Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame today. As soon as we are done with this Sports Shorts Daily presented by LaBerge Casino, I'm walking into the Waffle House. I am literally in the Waffle House parking lot. So I'm going to get an all-star breakfast TK, the waffle crispy, the bacon crispy, eggs over medium, and I think today I'm going to go grits with cheese on them. So that's the order that's going to be coming up in a little bit. So, Craig, no breakfast sandwich review, but I will give you a Waffle House review Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. on our next Sports Shorts Daily.
There you go. That sounds like a plan. Now, hey, let's point out, while we're talking about that, next Saturday, Sports Shorts Radio, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. due to the LSU morning kickoff. We'll be in the Stadium Sports Bar out at the LaBerge Casino and Hotel. Come on out, check us out, have some fun doing the radio, make a night of it at the casino. The Stadium Sports Bar is just a great place. We were there a couple of weeks ago. 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. When you like and share us all on social media, of course, we're going to remind you of that as the week goes forward.
Rachel criticizing my breakfast choice, heart-healthy breakfast. All right. How about I go wheat toast on that, Rachel? That'll help you out. A little wheat toast. You want to
hear a funny story, Ronnie? I was in Gulf Shores last week. A couple of us were sitting down and talking about what we were going to order. And somebody looked at me and said, TK, did you realize how many calories are in that? And I said, do I look like a guy that counts calories? I said, come on now. Okay, I'm going to get the grilled chicken Caesar wrap. And said, but the wrap's got calories. I said, I don't care. I want the grilled chicken Caesar wrap. And it was really good, too, at Gulf Shores, the place I was at.
How about Nookie's got a new name for us for the show next week. He's got Sports Shorts After Dark next Saturday because LSU's playing at 11 a.m. and we do our show from 7 to 9 p.m. at LaBerge Casino. Sports Shorts After Dark. I like it, Nookie.
I'm liking it. Sounds like good, like a marketing plan.
Okay, so you and I thought very differently on LSU. You had LSU. You had Central Michigan covering the 19. What was your thought on that?
I just thought LSU. I didn't know LSU's offense would get it so much in gear. So I'll give them credit for that. I thought LSU would win the game, but I didn't know that they'd cover that 3-touchdown mark. And part of that was if the defense, relaxed a little bit after they had the lead, maybe Central Michigan shook themselves back into that thing. But I got that one wrong, no question about it. And LSU fans, I'm sure, are glad I got it wrong.
Well, not only did you get that one wrong, but you got the one wrong on Sunday. You and I, again, opposite sides, on the Saints game. This was one of the biggest eggs that the Saints have laid in quite a while.
Ronnie, that's the lowest offensive performance ever as Sean Payton as a coach of the Saints, and the lowest is 2001 for the team as far as total yards on offense. So it just was, Mama said there'd be days like this. It got nothing going at all. As good as Jameis Winston looked against the Packers, he and the offensive line and no running game with their 4 yards rushing at half, you can't win a football game like that. It was just an awful effort. And, of course, the Saints are saying, hey, it's one game out of 17. We'll be okay. Well, we've seen Jekyll and Hyde now. We've seen the very good-looking Saints. We've seen the very bad-looking Saints. They got to go to New England this coming Sunday for a 12 noon kickoff, and the Patriots did well yesterday. So, hey, it doesn't get any easier as they'll hit the road for the Patriots. And I think they come back home to the Dome after that. I'm pretty sure. I read that.
So the Saints, 128 yards of total offense. They only averaged 3 yards per play compared to 383 yards of total offense for Carolina Panthers. They averaged 5.2 yards per play. Here was my thought. I thought it was a little bit of fool's gold week one because I think I've seen this before. How many times over the Bill Belichick era, Tommy, has sometimes that first game New England's lost or they didn't look super great, and then all of a sudden, right, they got things fixed. I think you see a big in week 1 to week 2 in the NFL. It's weird. It's always weird. You always see weird games and things that you thought were going to happen and what the season was going to look like, and then they don't. I believe that what we saw in week 1 was a Green Bay team that underestimated the preseason. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers underestimated the preseason. We're going to find out tonight if Aaron Rodgers can bounce back against the Detroit Lions, and can he refocus and can he get that fire and hunger that he had a year ago when he was the MVP. It sure didn't look like it last week, but I would suspect we're going to see a different Green Bay team. And look, we made a lot about Jameis Winston throwing those 5 touchdowns, but he threw for 140 yards. It was, he took advantage of opportunities and turnovers and field position and all that. But for the most part, it wasn't Jameis Winston that won the game. It was the defense. And, it looked like a team, Tommy, that everybody had been talking about on national media, patting them on the back all week long, telling them how great they were and how they were the best thing since sliced bread and they were going to be Super Bowl contenders, and they just read their press clippings. And I felt like that might happen, and I didn't see and then with all the coaches out and the players being either out or banged up, I felt like this, hey, it's the NFL, man. Every game usually comes down to that final possession most of the time anyway. And it was I thought it was going to be close and that the Panthers might win or Saints might win by 3. But for the Saints to get blown out the way they did, it almost washes away the entire week 1 win against the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, and I hung my hat on the Winston, Sean Payton combo and, all of that, and that they would, have another successful offensive day. And, they did not. And the defense didn't get it done. It was just, you had Davenport and Alexander to the injured reserve list. But, that happens in the NFL. You can go down every team's roster, and there were a lot of tough injuries this past weekend. I saw an article about that. So, that's part of it. And next man's got to be ready when they call your name. Go out there and get it done. And, now the Saints have to regroup and try to bounce back against the Patriot team, which, we'll see.
Joe Brady, he tweeted out 1-0. That was his tweet, 1-0 against. I think that obviously meant 1-0 against Sean this year or something. But or
Well,
against
that
the
was the
Saints.
first time the Saints lost to the Panthers in several years.
That's right. Joe Brady's offense, there was a lot of things that looked familiar, right? I mean, when you saw some of those crossing routes and underneath routes and things, they looked very familiar. Uh, it was definitely he got the best in that one. How about Darnold? I mean, what a great decision this thing ended up being, right? Him going to Carolina. He's now 2-0 and has looked good in the first two games. I mean, threw for over 300 yards against the Saints. This is a guy that was banged up with the Jets. Took a lot of criticism, as you are going to take as the quarterback in New York when your team doesn't win, but some of that was bad team and injuries. Sam Darnold looking like he was everything we expected coming out of USC.
Well, we're going to let that play out and see how it goes. Also in the NFC South, the Buccaneers defeated the Falcons. Saints fans always have to pay attention to the other teams in the South because when we get towards playoff time, all their records will matter.
How about the Jets, Sam Darnold's old team? They looked awful once again. They're now 0-2, and I know they put everything on Zach Wilson, their first-round pick out of BYU, but it looks like it's going to be a long, long year for the Jets. For the Patriots, the Saints' next opponent, Mac Jones got to win. It's going to be fun to see Jameis Winston go gets back. By the way, speaking of Jameis Winston, Tommy, what in the hell has happened to Florida State? Florida State is 0-3. They got blown out by Wake Forest. Where are they even going to get a win on their schedule? I mean, other than out of conference. I mean, Tommy, what has happened to Florida State? I mean, this was a team 5 years ago that was competing for national championships.
Well, they're 0-3 for the first time since 1976. Okay, that's a long time ago. And wow, it's just
was
not.
Burt Reynolds playing wide receiver back then?
Yeah, but it's just not working. And of course, the cries are coming already for Deion Primetime Sanders, whose Jackson State team lost to Louisiana Monroe. Very close game this past weekend. But they're saying, Deion, who's showing he can coach college football and getting a lot of recruits to Jackson State, maybe he's, the Seminole fans are like, Deion. Hey, Deion, how are you doing, man? Like, hey, we got to talk.
Listen, that is going to happen. As long as Deion Sanders can keep his head above water and not have any, and not, and win. I mean, they ain't gonna win. They don't have to go 12-0. They just have to be, win. Just be a decent team.
He out-recruited. According to the recruiting rankings, Jackson State was ahead of like 20 Power 5 schools.
Right.
With people that Deion is bringing in, and he's put money he's getting money put into the resources at Jackson State, and it's giving attention to the SWAC. I mean, it's been a positive thing for Jackson State and the SWAC and HBCUs for that matter. So, but look, Florida State's like, hey Deion, we got to talk, man. Let's have Christmas dinner together and talk about next year.
Right. No, I would think that this is absolutely gonna. I would think that this absolutely is going to be what's going to happen. A lot of people speculated in the last year that Deion Sanders to Florida State was inevitable. This may expedite it. I thought Deion might be at Jackson State 3 or 4 years before it happens, just to make sure he got experience as a coach and it was really what he wanted to do, and it wasn't just some sort of feeling it in the moment. I mean, he may be there next year. This team, the way they look through the first 3 games, we gave them a lot of credit about playing Notre Dame close, and then after that, it's been just straight downhill.
And for that matter, Notre Dame's 3-0, but they've struggled in every game.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not any good. I mean, they're significantly overrated as always.
This year in college football is actually turning out to be pretty fun, Tommy, because we've already got Ohio State lost. We're not impressed with Oklahoma. Alabama actually almost lost over the weekend. Notre Dame isn't as good. Clemson isn't as good. I mean, this is kind of wide open. It's a shame LSU's not any good and has any shot because, picking the top 4 this year is going to be hard.
Well, and let's say this:
1 loss or maybe 2 losses might even get you in.
Is this the year that Cincinnati sneaks into the
Right.
playoff, or Coastal Carolina. And I think Cincinnati would do it before Coastal. But, they've talked about, hey, one of these group of 5 teams one year is going to sneak in there,
Yeah.
And maybe this would be the year. I know it's only September the 20th, but, like you said, I think you summed it up. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to watch. It's going to be tough to bet, but it's going to be fun to watch. And if you're a college football fan, yeah, most people have their favorite team, but also people follows everybody, follows the college football across the board. It's going to be wild and fun.
Yeah, Rachel asking who beats Bama. Listen,
I got an answer to that. I got an answer. The only team that can beat Alabama is Alabama, period. Now, the close game the other day is probably just what Nick Saban wanted, because now he can tell them you're terrible. You're terrible. You almost lost. But, that's awful. He can't say anything about the Mercer game, but he can talk about it. Now they got Southern Mississippi. Look out, Southern Miss. It's not going to be pretty. First half line will roll no matter what it is. But look, and Ronnie, as you know, I got a good friend that coached twice at Alabama. He had 2-3 year stints recently. I'm talking about under Saban, and he's now with the Philadelphia Eagles as an offensive coach. But he told me a lot of things, and I've learned a lot more about Saban than maybe somebody else, because a close friend worked with him for 6 years with a 1 year gap in between the 6. They had 3, and then a year away, and then 3. That's just what Nick Saban wanted, was a close game against Florida.
Southern Miss is going to get destroyed.
Yes.
Southern Miss lost 31-7 to South Alabama first game of the year. Then they beat Grambling 37-0. Then this past weekend they lost to Troy out of the Sun Belt 21-9 on their home field. Alabama's players have some frustration. Nick's going to want to send a message like, woo, it's going to be ugly against Southern Miss this weekend. You're going to wish you didn't schedule that game, but you better run and cash that check real quick. But look, clearly from the naked eye, Southern Miss and Alabama and Georgia are the best 2 teams in the country. But what I'm getting at is, when you got to do the 4, when you got to go who's 3rd, who's 4th, this is the year where it's going to be a lot harder. In the past, it was, okay, we're trying to decide between 4 and 5. This could be a year where we're trying to decide between 3 and 4. 1 and 2 may be obvious. If Georgia runs the table and Alabama runs the table, and then those 2 are the 1 and 2. But if 3 and 4, I agree with you. This might be the year, especially if you're looking at a 4th place team. I mean, the 4th team overall, maybe having 2 losses, or even if it's like an Oklahoma who had a year and they lost the game versus maybe a Cincinnati who goes 12-0. It wouldn't be a bad thing, and because we're all fans of getting to that 12-team playoff anyway. If you put a non-Power 5 team as the 4th place team this year, people would be irate, and it would be just what the doctor needs to expedite quickly to get to that 12-team playoff.
Well, I think if you had to pick 4 today, if I had to pick 4 today, it would be Alabama, Georgia, Penn State, Oregon. If you had to pick them today. Now that could change next Monday when we're back here doing Sports Shorts Daily. But we'll see. Hey, I see Craig's post there. Look, Craig, that means
into that.
The first half line would be 25-26 then, and I'd jump on it.
He said, I think, the Bama USM line opened at 48.
Yeah, so the first half would be 26-27.
Yeah, the Mercer line was, 38.5, Tommy?
Correct.
If I remember correctly. And they did not cover that Mercer line. 38.5 is a ton for I don't care who you play. But, yeah, if it's 48 and that first half line's anywhere between 25 and 30, I can see a 35-0 at halftime.
Yeah, I'm on it.
Yeah. Again, it's like Tom Brady money line, Alabama first half line, just bet it every week. And then when you lose, double the next week.
Yeah, and just hope that you don't get bad refereeing, right?
Let's talk about that. The Mississippi State blown call, which was done in Memphis, by the way, by SEC officials. So if Mississippi State fans can't blame it on some other conference's officials, that was SEC officials. I mean, we say this all the time. That might be the worst call I've ever seen. That call, Tommy, literally changed wins and losses in that game.
It's mind-boggling that could happen, okay? This is not judgment. This is a mistake in applying the rules of the football game. And here's what I don't get. You got all these refs on the field. You got backup refs on the sidelines. You got refs in the booth. You got an SEC control center in Birmingham in the SEC office, which, by the way, has been expanded. I learned that last night. It's in a much bigger room now because they're adding replay review to softball for the SEC next spring. But anyway, I can't believe that they could make a mistake like that. Somebody didn't raise their hand or beep, beep. Hey, guys, let's huddle up. We do this all the time. We ain't got this one right. Or why wasn't it sent down from the booth like you got this one wrong? And it's one of the worst things in the history of sports, Ronnie, is when somebody says that play's not reviewable. Bullshit. Right. Every play should be reviewable. I mean, there should not. You got replay review, use it. And look, there's so much money on the line for these schools, for these coaches, staffs, for everybody that's involved, for the conference. To make a blatant mistake like that, which is an application of the rule. This is not someone's judgment, okay? Because humans are going to make mistakes when you judge something. That cannot happen. And I know that crew's going to get reprimanded. They might not say publicly what's going to happen, but they may get a week off. You also had the situation in Penn State with the worst targeting call you ever saw. There was not the SEC. There was another conference that screwed up the downs. A team punted on third down because they had it wrong. I think it was in the Big 12. I mean, so come on, referees. But I'm not putting it all on the refs. I'm putting it on the conference for not, buzzing down to that guy. Hey, look, if I juggle a ball and my feet are near the sidelines, they buzzing down. Say, hey, we got to check that. Why wouldn't you check a misapplication of a rule which clearly affected that football game? It affected Memphis. It affected their conference. It affected Mississippi State and affected their conference. That can't happen like that.
I like what the NFL's doing with the targeting rule, which is, unless it's the old school spearing where it's just, obvious, right? That a guy is intentionally trying to hurt someone. They don't throw you out of the game on the first one. You get the penalty. The NCAA and the college football targeting rule is just way too strict. It's being put into effect way too difficult. It's every single big hit is about an 80% chance it's going to be a targeting penalty and the guy's going to get thrown out of the game. I was at the UL game on Thursday night. The Ohio returned a kick on a kickoff. Guy for UL, a gunner for UL, came down and came from the side, literally hit him in the shoulder, and then of course the head. It went shoulder into the head from the side. I mean, just laid him out. It was probably one of the biggest hits I've ever seen on a kickoff return. And it was, the crowd went nuts. The sideline went nuts. It was a fantastic play. The guy ran 60 yards. He came from the side. The guy never saw him, and he hit him from the side, Tommy. They threw him out of the game. It was exactly what you would teach a player to do, exactly how you would teach a player to hit a player and how to tackle a player. It's not going to happen. You cannot expect college and NFL. You can expect players to make split-second decisions on when they're aiming for someone's target. They're aiming for the chest, and all of a sudden, the other player dips or something, and you hit helmet to helmet. That is not the tackler's fault, and the expectation that you're supposed to have the head up, the whole time, seeing your face into the chest of someone. That's just not how you tackle. That's not correct. It's not how it's going to be. And so I'm telling you, man, the game is on a trajectory with all these different rules. You can't touch quarterbacks. You hit a player hard, you're out for the game, and in the first half of the next game, it's going in a bad way, man. And it's to the point where they need to get players to sign release forms, because at the end of the day, it's all about lawsuits. They're all concerned about concussion protocol and lawsuits. Hey, you want to play? It's Gladiators. It's like the movie Gladiators. Hey, this is Gladiators, man. If you want to play, you're not going to hold me responsible for injury. If not, go play something else.
Yeah, I mean, that NFL rule's got to trickle down. I got to quit throwing guys out. And you got to use some common sense, Ronnie. I mean, if a receiver's coming across the middle and a safety launches himself like a projectile head first, that guy's got to get thrown out, But, some of these situations, it happens so fast that, like you said, I could be, Ronnie, you could be a tight end coming down the field, and I could be, hey, I'm going to hit him right in his thighs and get him on the ground, tackle him. You lower your head and my head hits your head. I mean, that's not targeting. No, it's there's some judgment involved, but common sense has to kick in because they're ruining the game. Ronnie, I said many years ago, back in the day, old-fashioned days of radio every day, that the NFL was on the way to becoming a video game, that by 2030 it would be a video game only with no people in the stands. That's kind of out there a little bit, but when we look around at the way all these rules have changed the NFL and changed college football and to a degree high school football, maybe it will all be a video game at some point in the future.
He's Tommy. I'm Ronnie. Tell us what's going on, Tremonti.
Well, Tremonti's had a big weekend with the home game. Obviously, LSU on the road this week, but they can take care of all of your needs if you're having some people at the house. The daily lunch specials, the huge wine selection right behind me, and all the liquor you need. And, man, they just got it going on at Tremonti's Meat and Seafood. They can cater your office lunch gathering. Hey, 10 people, 60 people, it don't matter. Tremonti's can do it all. Just connect with them on Facebook and Instagram. Hey, they got some new hours for the non-summer hours, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Tremonti's Meat and Seafood, Jefferson Highway, right down the street from Parkview Baptist Church and School. Check them out. They do a great job. Chicken fried steak, the lunch special today.
All right, we'll be back on Wednesday, 9 a.m. Tommy will be over at in Port Allen at Court Street Cafe. Until then, have a great one, and make sure you like and share this video. Appreciate your support. Like and share all the way. And then, of course, reminder program notes, Saturday, sports shorts. No Saturday morning sports shorts due to the 11 a.m. kickoff. It'll be from 7 to 9 p.m. at the Stadium Sports Bar inside LeBaire. So come see us, have some dinner with us, have a drink, whatever, hang out with us. We'll have all the gang, Derek Beckwith, myself, TK, and many others as well. We'll be back with Sports Shorts Daily on Wednesday. Until then, have a great one, everybody.